What's up, guys? My name is Isaac Poti. I'm the host of a podcast called Tales from the Tailboard Podcast, where I interview all first responders alike and anybody in the realm to better help you and everybody around. Help me welcome Mr. David Givot.
We need you here, healing the streets. But I could be saving your ass in the courtroom instead.
David, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
What's up, everybody? It is very nice to be here. I'm super stoked to be here. I'm going to make you all a little bit jealous now because I don't know what it's like where you are, but this is what it's like where I am in November. It's super cool to be here. Thank you for having me. This is super cool.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. David, what is it that you do for a living currently?
So I am what is affectionately called an EMS defense lawyer. I was a paramedic for quite a long time back in the day, worked my way up and out, went to law school. And when I was in law school, but certainly when I got out of law school, I knew what I wanted to do. And one of them was to protect and defend EMS providers. And so when I was in law school, literally every class in law school, I would go through the material and be like, oh, holy shit. That's illegal? We used to do that all the time. Somebody better get out there and tell these guys how to stay safe. So it was in law school that I started developing the idea behind my practice and behind my training sessions. And that was, 20 years ago. Right now in California, if you're an EMT or a paramedic or a nurse and the licensing boards want to come after your license to practice, for whatever, it could be on the job or off the job conduct, I'm the guy you call to prevent that from happening, to fight that case for you. I don't do civil lawsuits. So if somebody wants to sue you personally, you're going to need somebody else for that. That's a whole different situation. And then I also do, as a side, kind of a side-by-side, I do criminal defense, so DUIs and, stuff like that. But that's my practice. My first love is EMS, and you can try to get out. You're not getting out. It always pulls you back in, one way or the other.
Yeah. So let's hit that avenue. Let's start back from the very beginning. What made you want to be an EMS to start with?
It was totally by accident. I was in college, and I wanted to get out of college. I grew up in LA, obviously, so I wanted to be in Hollywood, right? I wanted to work in movies. And but I had an agreement with my dad. I could pursue that completely aimless career, but I had to go to college first. So when I was in college, I looked for classes, enough credits to get me out as fast as I could. One of the classes I saw was an EMT class, and it was worth 5 units. I'm like, sweet, 5 units, man! I'll be out of here in no time. So I enrolled in the class. I had already had an interest. I was a lifeguard. I worked at summer camp. I knew that I had an interest in that, but not for a life. And during the course of the class, they said, okay, to get out of the class, to blah, 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 do whatever, you got to go on a ride along. So I'm like, all right, well, that's, whatever, that sounds fine. I'll go do a ride along. All of my fellow students went to ride along with EMT units. And in LA, all they did was, truck patients from one hospital to another. For whatever reason, the instructor put me at a paramedic station. And I rode along with a paramedic unit. And it was on the second call, it was a traffic collision. We were going down the emergency lane of the freeway to get to it, going down this big grade. And I'm staring out the back window and I can hear the sirens and I'm thinking, just like every one of you probably, I'm like, oh my God, I'm home. This is where I belong. And my entire trajectory of my life changed. I stayed in college long enough to, not get in trouble with my dad, but I put Hollywood completely aside, got a job at an ambulance company, and the rest was history.
So at what point during your EMT career, let's breach two different questions here. Sure. How long were you an EMT before you became a paramedic, and why did you make the jump to become a paramedic?
First, it was about a year. It was about 6 or 7 months into being an EMT and running fire calls with the LA County Fire Department, being on emergency scenes. I'm like, this is great, but I want to be that guy. I want to be like John Cage, man. when I was a kid, there was only three things I ever wanted to be. One was a paramedic, but that was sort of an impossible dream because I saw it on TV. I never actually thought that would happen. I thought about being a lawyer because, you know, they're supposed to make all this money. Turns out they don't. And I wanted to be a pilot. So when I finally became an EMT, all of a sudden becoming a paramedic wasn't that far out of reach. So about a year into it, I applied. I got into paramedic school. And you know the deal, man. Once you're in EMS, you're stuck. There's only certain humans that can do it, and we can't do anything else. And if we try anything else, it's going to still be related to EMS. So that was kind of the transition. And once I became a paramedic, I was home.
So how many years were you a paramedic?
I went to paramedic school in 1989, and I ultimately let my license lapse in 2006 when I was studying for the bar exam. And that's only because I'm an idiot. I thought because when I was a paramedic, it was before the National Registry. It was like, I thought I had to take the National Registry exam to keep my paramedic. I couldn't study for the bar exam, which is the hardest professional exam in the country, and, you know, NREMTP. So I very begrudgingly let that go. And it was about a year later I found out, no, stupid, you were grandfathered in. You never had to take that test. I could have kept it, but I didn't. So it was, I practiced for about that long.
Okay, so during your, I'm doing the math, 17 years as a paramedic, because we have a lot of aspiring paramedics coming on, they're in the live right now, people that are taking medic class right now. What is the hardest thing for you about being a paramedic?
What a great question. First of all, it doesn't matter what the hardest thing for me is because it's going to be different for everyone. I think as my career progressed, the hardest thing for me changed, right? First off, like at the very beginning, the hardest for me was med math. Like I'm not a math guy. And like that, you know, and that's just a thing you can figure out. When I actually got out, the hardest thing was not being able to save everyone because, again, we all start out kind of naive thinking that's how it's going to be. And we very quickly learn that that's not how it is at all. Then the hardest thing becomes forgiving yourself when you're sure that it was your mistake that caused someone to not live. And of course it never is, but it always feels that way. And then I don't think, honestly, once you kind of absorb all that, that takes the first few, maybe 2 or 3 years. After that, I loved it so much. I don't think there was a hardest thing. I really don't.
Yeah. So you're doing all this, you're taking your bar exam because you wanted to make more money or whatever the case may be, like as you're trying to jump into being a lawyer. Out of all things that you could have branched off and became a lawyer of, why was it EMS?
Because once you're in, it's in your soul, man. It's in your blood. And not to be too, whatever, but EMS people are my people. I don't have to have ever met you. If you're an EMS, if you're an EMT, if you're a paramedic, if you're an ER nurse, you're my people, and I want to take care of you. And that's just kind of how I was raised and how I was programmed. That's why.
Cool. So, like, you never really were doing it to chase the money, because I'm sure there are other parameters in law.
Yeah.
In law at all, yeah.
Just about every other area of law pays more than what I get. But my wife has a great job. She's a nurse, was a paramedic when we met. So, she's got the good job and the benefits. I get to do this. And surprisingly, it doesn't pay as much.
So that's a good question. You mentioned your wife being a nurse and you being an EMS lawyer, and that you also cover people like nurses. Is there a conflict of interest when it comes to trying to litigate for your wife?
No. Well, knock on wood. I've never had to. There probably would be. I think it's not like a doctor can't work, like a surgeon can't do surgery on a family member. I can certainly represent a family. In fact, I've represented lots of family members. Don't ask. But no, there would not be a conflict of interest there. No.
Okay. It was just a question that breached because what you had said. All right. So you take the bar exam, you passed, you become into it. Is there any hurdles that you found along the way that kind of like stopped you from doing what you wanted to do?
No. Again, what do we learn in EMS? That hurdles, obstacles are just things meant to be overcome. So yeah, there was difficulties, there was challenges, but nothing. Being an EMT or being a paramedic, I genuinely believe this. There's no better endeavor to prepare you for life than that, right? And I'll give you the example is this. When I was taking the bar exam, and again, there was about 3,500 people in this giant room, and that was just one of about, I don't know how many locations that were having a bar exam that day. But the girl behind me, she had graduated law school at Stanford. And the reason I know that is because about 30 seconds into the conversation, she told me she graduated from Stanford. And about halfway through the first day of the exam, she had a panic attack. And I'm looking at her like, bitch, you think this is stressful? Hold a dead baby in your arms. This is nothing. And so it kind of occurred to me in that moment that once you've done this job, you can do anything. I go to court now and I see other lawyers, they struggle and they have a really hard time and they freak out. And I'm like, and they get stressed out. I'm like, you guys, this is no one's going to die if you fuck something up today, right? We're good. So I think that this job, being in EMS, is the best preparation anybody can have for any other job in life. I don't know if that answers your question, but I went off on a tangent, which I do sometimes.
Oh, that's fine. This is what this whole thing's all about. So I got a question from Rural EMS Medic. He says, so do you work and help EMS in hospitals or services in your area?
I will. So as a lawyer, I can defend anybody in the state of California because that's where my license is. But I can do consulting, and I do consulting, and I do training all in just about, well, not quite every state yet, but all over the country. Because I can teach anywhere, and I can consult, I can answer hypotheticals anywhere. I just can only practice in California.
What's the biggest mistake an EMS professional has made in their career that you have noticed?
The number one most common error that I see is providers prejudging calls, right? They have been to the address 100 times. They know the patient or they know the situation. They know what they're getting into, and they roll into the call assuming they know what they're going to find because that's everything, they've always found the same thing. And it prevents them from being objective, and they get sucked into this vortex of confirmation bias. And when it is something else, they refuse to see it, and there's a bad outcome. I think that's probably the prejudging and not going through the steps on every call, no matter what, is probably the most common error. Okay.
So until we get some more questions, I want to breach on kind of like what I heard in the podcast with Sean Pitts and you. I am a big proponent for, I can do what I'm told to do, but I really like to know why. And you did that when you provided case law on the Wright case and Zepeda. And I want you to kind of go in detail about that, but I also want to ask a broad on top of question and say, do those like Los Angeles versus Wright, Los Angeles versus Zepeda, can that be used throughout the nation, or is that just in California?
Sort of. Every state is its own judicial jurisdiction. And when there is case law that emanates from a particular state, that's the law of the land as it relates to that state. If there is not a case on point in another state, then the case from out of state can be used as a reference, but not necessarily case law per se. But the issues in Wright versus City of Los Angeles and Zepeda versus City of Los Angeles are so common that in just about every state there is, by another name, a case on the same point. Wright being abandonment, and when the provider-patient relationship is established, and Zepeda, of course, being what was Zepeda? Zepeda being acting reasonably. If your conduct is reasonable on the call, then the law will protect you. There's just pick a different name, and every state, every jurisdiction's got a case on point, I'm sure.
Okay. How legally risky is it to work for a service that has questionable protocols or poor oversight?
Be more specific. That question's very, very broad. Be detailed. Give me an example.
Andy, if you will, go ahead and kind of, I know there's a character limit on comments through a live, so he'll do his best there. Type it out, multiple comments if you have to, Andy. Can you go into broad aspect of Wright versus Los Angeles and Zepeda versus Los Angeles and why those two kind of intermingled?
So, a very long story short, Wright versus City of Los Angeles. This guy, it's 1979. This guy's out in front of his house. He's in a physical altercation with another guy, gets the ever-loving shit kicked out of him. Cops come, they arrest both guys. When they take Mr. Wright into custody, he tells them, I hurt all over, I need an ambulance. And they say, okay. They call for an LA City rescue, 2 paramedics. Medic walks up to Mr. Wright. Now, mind you, he's beat up, he's bloody, he's in handcuffs, he's laying in the gutter. And the medic leans over and says, are you hurt? And Mr. Wright says something like, no, I'm okay. I just need a glass of water or a blanket or some weird thing that didn't quite fit the situation. So the medic then performs a 60-second visual only, so no hands, no touching, no talking, just a 60-second visual only assessment to confirm shock, which none of you have ever heard of because that's just not a thing. Nobody ever learned that. The cop says, does he need to go? I see that. Thanks for the. That's very funny. The cop says, does he need to go to the hospital? And the medic says, well, if you're going to take him to the jail, you might want to swing on by the doctor first. Also not a thing. So the medic leaves, right? He takes his pen out, he's like, FD only, PD only, FD not needed, no patient, and then they peace out. Well, of course, about 25 minutes later or so, Mr. Wright is dead from sickle cell crisis, and the family files a wrongful death lawsuit. And, after going back and forth, the court ultimately pointed out, and the law that we get from it in California is, the court pointed out that, hey, if you're a provider and you're approaching the patient in furtherance of the reason for which you were called, that relationship is right there and then established. And that relationship is held inviolate. I mean, you can't terminate that relationship until you've done all of the things that policy and protocol and procedure require. And if you try to leave early, that constitutes abandonment. So from there, that is generally whatever the facts are or the case name is where you are, the rule is basically the same. When you are approaching the patient in furtherance of the reason for which you were called, that relationship is established. Once that relationship is established, you can't violate that. You have to do all of the things. You have to do all of the things that policy and protocol and procedure require you to do before you can terminate that relationship. Side note, you don't have to actually see the patient. You could be walking up to the house, right? Let's say you get called to the chest pain or the unknown medical, and you walk up and you haven't even knocked on the door yet, but the patient's inside, but you're approaching in furtherance of the reason for which you were called. That's your patient. And anything short of all of the things policy and protocol procedure require to either take the patient to the hospital or send the patient to the hospital by ambulance or get a properly executed refusal, anything short of those three things, with very few other exceptions, would constitute abandonment. That's what in California we get from the Wright case. Now, about 10 years later, Zepeda versus City of Los Angeles, another long story, very short. This guy gets shot in the neck. The medics stage outside of the scene, and but the family can see them, but they're at the scene, but they don't approach. and Zepeda dies by the time they get in there, but after PD clears the scene. The family says, hey, according to Wright, when you were there, you had to do your thing. And then blah, 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 at the end of the story of Zepeda, the court said no. The court said Wright applies when you're approaching the patient. In Zepeda, their duty was to the scene, and they were following policy with regard to staging. So no, that relationship never attached. More importantly, from Zepeda, ultimately, it's a much longer story. When you take my class, I'll tell you the whole story. But the short of it is,
absolutely.
Yeah, the short of it is, the court said, hey, the medics in this case acted reasonably, and that's the determiner. So if you're an EMT or a paramedic and you're on a call, so long as you execute your policies, protocols, or procedures reasonably, or, and I don't want to get too much into this, but if you have to deviate from them, you do so reasonably, the law should still protect you. That's what we get from those two cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I believe Andy has a really good question here, and because of character limits, I don't think he can fully ask that question. So, Andy, I'm going to bring you up as a secondary guest. Do me a favor, keep your camera off so it doesn't interfere with everything here. And you can just ask your question to David yourself.
Yeah, Andy, come on, let's hear it.
Give me 1 second. Let me get him in here. There we go. All right. All right, Andy, you're live on the Tales from the Tailboard podcast. Go ahead and ask your question to Mr. Givot, please.
Thank you for having me here for Tales. And David, pleasure meeting you. So the biggest question is, we have an agency out here. I'm not going to name them or put them on the spot, but more or less, they are being petitioned to get brought out of the county due to the trucks always breaking down, staffing issues, or being unprofessional providers. And one of their drivers actually got ran over and succumbed to their injuries because of their uniforms being all black.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Also, lack of supplies to accommodate for patient treatment. How would you, in your expert opinion, how would you kind of classify and kind of look at that agency and more or less just see what the outcome would be for them?
I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but I'll tell you, shut them down. If they don't have the right equipment, and if they don't have the right policies, and if they're not getting it done the right way, fuck them, get rid of them. They're not good for us.
Gotcha.
How does one go about that? Like, if he was to whistleblow that, how would he do that?
Yeah. I have no idea. It depends on where you are, what the jurisdiction is. If you want to reach out to me offline later, we can definitely talk about it privately. I don't want to put you in any kind of position right now to cause you any kind of harm or jeopardy. But there's ways to do that. We can talk about that after.
I appreciate it, David. Thank you guys for letting me be on.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Thank you, Andy.
Be safe.
You want to throw your... Oh, there we go. And then there was one other question, if he's willing to come up. Mental health medic, you had a question. Are you willing to come up? And while you're typing that out, yes or no, I'm going to ask David some more questions.
Sure.
So we covered who you are, why you're doing it, and what you're doing it. How does this affect your overall mental health? I mean, has cases bothered you? Have they not bothered you? Those types of situations.
So I love that question because nobody ever asks me that, right? And I think it's for mental health. I'm a big proponent. I think it's important to talk about that. My job, not so much as an EMS defense lawyer, but as a criminal defense lawyer, is very, very similar to being a paramedic or being an EMT, right? People call me and it's the worst moment of their life, right? And they're in a panic and they feel like they can't get out of it without my help. I get in, I work fast, I work hard, I fix the problem as best I can, and then I get out and I never see them again. And so it's a very similar job, but sometimes some of the things that I have to deal with, and for example, I have handled cases where defendants have allegedly done things to people they should not have done. And I don't want to mess up TikTok's algorithm by giving too many details, but I think you can see where I'm going with it. And in having to have those conversations and review that discovery, that sticks with you, and it makes you kind of wonder, man, what am I like? This is gross. Why am I doing this? And the answer is, and I have to keep reminding myself, is that defense lawyers don't defend actions. And quite frankly, if you come to me for help, I don't care what you did. All I care is that your rights are protected. You have the same constitutional rights, and that's my number one. I'll give you an example in a second. I want to make sure you're treated fairly in an unfair system, and it's been my experience for nearly 20 years now. In fact, I've been a lawyer next week. As of next week, I will have been a lawyer as long as I was a paramedic. It's been my experience that justice tends to always work itself out. If you know what I'm saying. And the example is, when I was 6 years old, my mother was killed in an accident by a drunk driver. And most of my defense practice is defending DUI drivers. And people who know that about me say, well, how can you do that, you fucking hypocrite? And the answer is because more important than anything to keep our society together is the Constitution. If we don't fight for that, we've got nothing left. So that's a long answer to your short question.
No, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm glad you're going in depth on this because it makes the episode that much better. Like EMS Connect said, this guy's a stud. You definitely are. So thank you for going in depth and asking these questions. I'm going to go ahead and bring up another guest who has a question for you.
Sure, thank you.
I invited him. There he is. Welcome on to the Tales from the Tailboard Podcast, Cameron, mental health medic. You're on with David Givot. Ask your question.
I think I follow you on TikTok.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I spent about 8 years in EMS education. In the legal chapter, bring this up, and more from an ethical and moral standpoint. But I'm curious of your opinion as an attorney and the legal implications of it. Running a refusal and implied versus informed consent. The scenario I give them is I'm going to overly simplify it, but basically you run me, I'm having a massive STEMI. You know I'm going to die. I refuse. You say all the right buzzwords, right? Permanent disability, death, whatever. And I go into cardiac arrest right in front of you. Whether I've signed the refusal or not, I have said out loud, I'm okay with dying, let me die. And I ask them, like, how many of you, when I go unresponsive, how many of you run the code? And they all say, well, that's implied consent. My argument is, implied consent is if you find me, you find me unresponsive, you can assume I would want you to do everything, but I've already withdrawn that.
Wow, that is maybe one of the best questions I've ever gotten, and it's going to take a bit to answer.
Go ahead.
I'm going to try to break it down into pieces for you. You're having a STEMI. You're going to die today, but you're alert and oriented. You have capacity. And you don't fall into any of those other categories. There's not a conservatorship over you. You're not, on a psych hold. So you have the ability to make all your own decisions. I have to let you die. Now, my trick question is going to be, wait a minute, do you want to die? And if you answer, yes, I want to die, boom, suicidal ideations, I can now take you against your will, okay? But you're smart, and you're going to say, no, I don't want to die, but I'm going to, in which case I say, shit. And when you collapse in front of me, okay, let's do it two ways. You sign the AMA, the brilliantly executed AMA, it's perfect, and I'm about to turn around and walk out, okay? And then you go unconscious. Believe it or not, it's my understanding that because you were alive when you signed and you're not alive now, in my mind, that's a different call. That's an entirely different situation. And yes, implied consent allows me, in fact, requires me to treat you, because an AMA is not an advance directive. It's not a post. It's not it's not a DNR. So yes, I have to work you up, and ethically, morally, I'm going to work you up. Now, when you wake up and go, man, what'd you do? You don't get to sue me for wrongful life because I'm protected by the provider immunity statutes. Every state has a version of it that says, so long as you act in good faith and without gross negligence, you can't be sued. And good faith would dictate that I try to save your life because that's the rules. That make sense?
Nope, perfect. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for what you do, by the way. I've been watching.
Thanks, Mental Medic, for coming on and asking your question.
Yep.
Yep, you bet.
EMS Connect guy says, can you explain the Good Sam laws in general? A lot of providers don't truly understand the Good Samaritan laws.
No, I don't want to. Yeah. So I'm going to couch it in the context of California because that's the law that I know the best. And I'll preface it by saying every other jurisdiction has some similar version of it. The Good Samaritan law, as it is referred to, covers non-professionals that are just lay people. If I'm just a guy and I'm cruising down the road and I see a traffic collision, I get out to help, and as a result of my help, an injury results, I can't be sued. The Good Samaritan law protects me, okay, and I can mess that guy up because I'm stupid. However, as long as I was acting in good faith. But if you're a provider and you're off the job and you're driving down with your family on vacation and you see a traffic collision and you want to get out and help, you are likewise protected by the off-duty, the Good Samaritan law as it stands for civilians. However, you are expected to act with your knowledge and training. So if you're a paramedic, you're not expected to do advanced life support things, but you are expected to maintain C-spine, and you are expected to do, really good first aid. Now,
do you have to respond,
no,
or if you're in your own car? Okay.
What a great question. So, no, probably no. Sometimes yes. The no is this: we are not required as a society to come to the aid of anyone except our children, our spouse, and people that are in our care, right? We have to come to their aid. Mm-hmm. But if you're driving down the road and you see a wreck and this guy's bleeding, you're like, fuck, sucks to be you. You can do, I wouldn't, but you can do that, okay? However, if your action is what set in motion the thing that led to the injury or the incident, then yeah, now you have a duty to rescue or to summon help. If you, let's say you're at the beach, right? And you're getting a suntan, you got your banana hammock on, you're all oiled up, looking good. And you and your buddy are there and you look out and you see a guy drowning and you're the best swimmer, you're lifeguard of the year, but you're off duty. You can be like, oh man, hey, I'll bet you $10 he drowns in like 2 minutes, whatever. Illegal gambling might be the crime, but you don't have to go render help. But if you get up and say, I'll help you, and somebody hears that, and they would have helped but for what you said, now you own that rescue. Now you have attached yourself to the duty to come help. But it gets better. Let's say you're swimming out there and you're like, all right, I'm going to come get you. And you see a dorsal fin swimming around the guy like, fuck, sucks to be you. Like on the job or anywhere else, while you might have the duty to rescue, you don't have a duty to put yourself in danger to do so. So it's a great question because there's a lot of moving parts and it depends on the individual pieces of the puzzle.
Okay, so Andy has a question. He said, "Who takes the blame if diversion and protocols aren't followed?" I don't quite know what he intends. Like, I mean, obviously, if the provider is diverting off protocols, I could see that being the provider's fault. However,
it's the wrong question.
He may have to go into clarification.
It's the wrong question. No, I got this. It's the wrong question.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it? Is the wrong question, because if you're the provider, it's always your fault. right? But not always your problem. If you deviate from protocols and the deviation is within the scope of what you're allowed to do, and your deviation is reasonable, then it's probably not going to be that big of a problem for you, right? But if your deviation takes you outside of your scope of practice or what you're allowed to do in any other given situation, then that's going to be a problem for you that you're going to own. In California, if go ahead.
Sorry, I think there's a clarification. Go ahead and finish what you're saying because it's a good take on this. But from what I'm understanding, it says I think he means hospital diversion. And then somebody else commented that was my interpretation too. So I think if different diversion protocols to a different hospital weren't followed.
Got it. Okay, so if you have a STEMI patient or a stroke patient and you know you need to go to a STEMI or a stroke center, but you go to the MAR because you don't want to go to the other one, you're going to have a problem. If you've got medical control, right, base hospital contact, and you can get permission or authorization to deviate for another reason, that's fine if you've got the authorization. But if you of your own volition for some improper reason deviate, or let's say it was a STEMI, everyone knows it's a STEMI, Stevie Wonder could see it was a STEMI, but you didn't pick that up and you go to the wrong hospital, yeah, that's going to be on you all day.
Okay. Well, this is a good one. As a lawyer, should EMS providers carry medical gear in personal vehicles just to be ready if they're off duty?
No. I mean, all right. Again, it's an unintentional, complicated question, okay? If you're a paramedic and you've got a really good first aid bag in your car, gauze and bandages and, flashlights and whatever first aid splints, whatever first aid stuff, terrific. If you want to stop, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If you want to have it on hand, great. I did just because I was one of those guys for a while. But if your case has equipment that you're not supposed to have off duty, let's think that through. And I love it. There's a whole part about this in my book. Let's say you say, all right, I'm gonna build myself a kit. It's gonna be the best kit, and you go into the station and you go through a door into the supply closet with the intent to take stuff from that supply closet to put in your bag. You are guilty of felony burglary. Just the act of walking into that room, opening that door, makes you a burglar. And that's a felony. You grab that stuff, now you're a thief, right? And depending on what you take, might also be a felony, okay? Let's say you grab some Benadryl, right? Some Narcan, but it's in a parenteral preparation, right? A syringe with a needle. And you take that and you put that in your bag. It's fucking Narcan. Who cares? Except for now, you are in possession of a drug you're not allowed to have. Felony. You put that in your car, drive around with it, right? Well, now, transportation of a controlled substance, felony. Your intent when you took it, when you put it in your car, when you're driving around with it, was to administer it if someone needs it. Well, now it's transportation with intent to distribute, felony, right? And I'm not going to say whether ever I did that, but it's 2025, almost 2026. You can't do that shit anymore. You just can't do it. If you go into, Amazon or I don't know if they even still have the Gauls catalog or whatever, and you purchase your supplies, no problem. You can do that all day long. If you're cruising around with stuff you're not allowed to have, and you get pulled over, big problems. Let me just make it one step better. Let's say you're a South Carolina medic and you do that stuff I just said, and you have that bag in your trunk, and you've got even IV solution which is just saline, but it's in an IV preparation, and that's not something you're lawfully able to carry because you've got the tubing and the IV cats and all that stuff. And you want to head up to the beach in North Carolina, you cross state lines. Well, guess what? Now it's federal. So, see how much fun. I ruined everything. Lawyers fucking ruin everything. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, for sure. No worries. Hey, so I have a question for you from a guy. He wants to come up and ask it. He says it's a little bit long-winded, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
Really long-winded? I got you. I'll outwind you.
Okay. Boom. He's invited. He's coming up in just a second.
Okay.
Rural EMS Medic, thank you for coming on to the podcast. This is David Givot. Ask your question.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. So I work in real rural Northwest Minnesota, where transport times can be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
And we have
can you say where you are in Minnesota?
Sure. I work out of Thief River Falls, Minnesota.
Is that near Deerwood or Brainerd?
Further north. Like
Bemidji up there? I went to hockey camp there. That's why I love it. It's beautiful there in the summertime.
Yeah, so
sorry. All right. Rural guy, ask your question. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So I have a critical access hospital. And just going off the, STEMI, that question where he was talking about STEMI, the closest PCI or the closest capable STEMI hospital is over an hour away. Now, if I'm 45 minutes out in the county, am I obligated to go to stabilize this guy to my critical access hospital, or do I have an obligation to bypass that to my cardiac hospital? If that makes sense.
I got you. I have no idea. That's going to depend entirely on your local protocols. Some places require it. Some places allow you.
Yeah, that's
say
clear.
That again?
I said that's clear as mud for us up here. Like some people are like, well, you have to stop. Some people are like, no, you got to go by. So it's like that's why I thought I'd ask that question on deviating.
I'm going to give you a horrible lawyer answer, and the horrible lawyer answer is whichever one is reasonable to do. Right? If your patient is critical and it needs advanced intervention right now, then you go to the closer hospital. But if in your professional opinion, you can maintain this patient to get them to a hospital that's more suited to this particular issue, and you can maintain that patient in the meantime, then I think you go the distance. It's going to be up to you, and I think it all falls back on is if your decision is clinically based, objective, and reasonable, it's probably the right decision.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah, cool. Just because we don't have any hospitals that have any capability around us except, they're, like I said, they're the closest one's an hour away. So
be very careful.
Sure. Sounds good.
Just in general. Yeah, you bet.
Sometimes people like lawyers. Sometimes they're full of shit, right?
Both are true at the same time. And almost nobody likes lawyers. That's my essay. When I applied to law school, I had to write an essay to get in, and the title of my essay was "Why I Hate Lawyers," and the whole essay was about if I make it in and if I make it out and if I become a lawyer, I'm not going to be like the others, and I've held true to that promise. And one of the best compliments I ever got was, "You don't act like a lawyer." Thank you.
Where did you play hockey? Since you brought up hockey, we're huge hockey fans.
All right. So in my 20s, when I was a paramedic, we had a department team, and we played in Burbank at our local arena. And when I left the field, and I just kind of packed my hockey stuff in the garage for 20 some, for however long it was, 20 years or whatever it was. Where I live now, we just got an arena about 3 years ago. We got a professional hockey team. It's the Coachella Valley Firebirds. It's Seattle Kraken's AHL team. And let me just tell you, big fan, crazy fan. Season tickets the whole time. But they built a side-by-side rink for the public, and they started an adult league. So now I play there again. And at 57 years old, I'm out there with my old ass playing. I fucking love it. You know the deal. You're from Minnesota. You know you love it.
Yep.
But I went to, when I was in my 20s, I went to adult hockey camp at Heartland Hockey Camp. It was Steve Jensen's camp in Deerwood.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. I was an adult.
I'd like to see you. I like to see you and Sean duke it out on some slap pucks or slap shots.
Oh, I play defense, obviously, because that's where my brain is. I have no shot. I'm telling you, like Ray Charles could be goalie, and I still wouldn't score. And that's funny because he's blind, in case you didn't know. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Roll, thank you for asking a question. Do you have any other questions, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
No, thank
my
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
So another question comes in from Andy, and he says, what liability exists if a patient deteriorates because a facility delayed calling 911?
I don't know, but it's not yours. It's not your liability. Again, all these questions are really good, but they require other facts to be able to answer them. But typically, the facility is on the hook until you walk in the door.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting just about to an hour. I'm good to keep going if you're going.
I am not in any hurry
guys, if you have more
I
questions. If you got more questions, ask him. If you want to come up, just let me know you want to come up and ask a question, and he can ask it, or he can answer your question right in front of you. So David, you mentioned, so he's not too familiar with Discord at the moment. I'm having Sean trying to talk to him about how to get all that started, since they're closer than we are.
Yep. I mean, Discord is when, like, my wife and I disagree on something. I thought that's what that was, so I'm learning
it. What do you do when you, what do you do to decompress, to get away from it all?
Crown Royal, Buffalo Trace, Jack Daniels. That's a joke. I'm not promoting alcoholism. And
no, you're good. I've just stopped sorry.
So I'll tell you, playing hockey, triathlons until I blew out my shoulders, my dogs, and as much time as I can spend with my wife, who's awesome. Don't tell her I said that. She can't hear me right
now. Okay, so we got the provider special, question mark, is what they say on the Buffalo Trace.
I don't know what the provider special is, but if you want to come have a drink with me, side text me. I'll drink up with anybody.
Well, next time I'm in California, because my girlfriend's from California, we might have to make something happen.
Let's go. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Well, she's from Fresno, so
that's only like a 9-hour drive from here, so, you might have to fly. Yeah. Where I live is far from everything.
So
we love that.
Yeah. So let's get into some complex things. Would you recommend personal insurance onto a company?
You mean like personal liability insurance? Here's the thing: is in most jurisdictions, it's almost impossible to sue you. They've got to get through so many layers to get to you that it's almost impossible. And in order for you to be personally liable, you got to mess something up so bad that you deserve to get sued. So I used to be a huge proponent of insurance. Now I'm like, if it makes you feel better, certainly. It's like $100 a year, get it. You'll never use it, but you'll feel better. Mm-hmm. However, if you own stuff, if you've got a house or a boat or assets, I would highly recommend putting everything you own in a trust. So you don't own it. The trust owns it. So God forbid something happens and you are, in that kind of predicament, there's nothing to take from you. That would be my recommendation.
So, guys, I can't show it because the green screen won't let me do it, but you can kind of see right here in my backdrop. We got sirens, lights, and lawyers. It's basically the law and other really important stuff that EMS providers need to know that wasn't taught in school. I want to talk to you about your book. Why did you decide to write a book?
Because I couldn't reach enough people with my classes. I wanted this information to be accessible to everybody because it's that important. It's stuff that I never knew when I was practicing. Most providers don't know. And it's information that once you know it, once you're even familiar, you don't have to know, once you're familiar with it, you can be really comfortable not only in how you provide, how you do the job, but in your liabilities, because you'll be doing things that keep you safer. I think the most important undertone of the book and the way that I write is exactly how I talk. At the end of it, my goal is that you're more motivated to be better, to do better, to be, all of us at some point or another fall into burnout. We fall into complacency, and some of us don't make it back out. Hopefully, this book, this was written with a side kind of subliminal intent, if you will, to motivate providers to just want to be better, to improve EMS. That's my only goal, is I want EMS to be better because it's so important.
And, it's important to put out that, Sean put, this book was not written by a lawyer. It was written by a legally smart EMS guy, which is very important because when a lawyer writes a book, people go, well, there's a bunch of legal jargon in that I'm not going to understand it, so I'm not even going to try.
No, I don't even.
Furthest from the truth.
Jargon.
Yeah.
One of the things that irritates me the most just in life is when people are condescending. And lawyers are the most condescending motherfuckers on the planet. Pardon the language. And I never, I never wanted to be that thing. So when I talk about EMS, when I talk about the law, I'm just a regular person talking to regular people using regular words. And that's how the book is written. It's not, there's some stuff that you can't get around, right? That you have to, but the stuff that is legalese gets explained. And if you when you combine that with the humor in it, don't even worry. You're going to laugh all the way through, I hope.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm definitely excited to get this book. I'm actually going to take the link to it and post it into the Discord. We have about 350 something members, if not more, in there. And hopefully, I know you're like, it's going to get me $1.25, which, cool. Yeah. I'm glad that you're not worried about price.
You remember
but like
that,
Sean said, this book, this book needs to be in every person's hand if you're a student. And for $14, you can get a paperback
I get a
copy
buck
of this
and a
book.
quarter. Yeah.
I
get my whole $1.25 per copy, but whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, I know right now it's sold out on Amazon thanks to TikTok.
Oh man.
You can still get it at Barnes & Noble. It's still available there. And Amazon's restocking takes about a week.
Okay, then I'll post numerous links that I can try to get the book out there. That being said, I have one more writing question, and then Sean is going to come up and ask some questions.
Sweet.
More. I'm an EMT basic. I'm studying for my AEMT, so there's a lot of questions from a paramedic mind that I'm not going to understand. So that's why
Don't sell yourself
rely
short.
on I rely on questions from other people to really breach that area that I don't know much about.
Well, you're not going to do much better than EMS Connect. Those guys are top of the game.
Yeah, which I'm a member of now, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Cool.
What is one thing lawyers look at in PCRs for court?
Depends on what lawyer's looking at it. Most of us are looking for errors, for mistakes. We're looking for the bad stuff. Because most lawyers are looking at it because they're representing the other side and they're trying to get you. They're looking for inconsistencies. They're looking for anything that can be used to suggest that you don't know what you're doing. And the two most common places they find that is short narratives, short, incomplete narratives, and narratives that are filled with misspellings and, bad grammar. I know it sounds terrible, but yeah.
They literally just asked that. They were like, are they more concerned about spelling and grammar?
They're not concerned. Well, no, they're not that concerned about it. But if they see that, they're going to exploit that, and it's going to be uncomfortable on cross-examination.
They want to know: do you prefer if they buy the book from Amazon or a certain link?
Oh, I don't care. Get it. I just want them to have the information. I don't care where they get it.
Perfect.
If they
love it.
can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Book Baby. Just get the information. And I'm working, hopefully by the end of next year, I'll have an audio version out, but those are really expensive and hard to do. Harder than I thought.
When I say I listened to the whole episode, I did. And when you right at the end of your episode, you talked about you can even hear it in my voice. I'm like, I cannot wait to listen to this whole book in your voice.
You will. Yeah, you will. Curse words and all.
Oh, yeah, I love it. All right, ready? I'm going to pull up EMS Connect, and he's going to ask some
please.
pretty cool questions here.
Well, we'll decide if they're cool or not.
Let's see.
Boom. Sean's really good at this, so yeah.
He should be coming up in just a minute.
Okay.
If he knows how to work a computer. I'm just kidding. Love you, Sean. Accept. Okay, they're going to come in from a different account.
There he is. You there?
Hey, EMS Connect. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming out to the Tales from the Tailboard podcast. I brought you in because I know you have questions from a teacher's aspect that I don't have, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the answers.
Yeah, so I got two questions for you, Mr.
Go for
Givot.
it. What's up, big dog?
First one, what's up, dude? Go Birds.
Go Birds. All day, go Birds.
So one question I have, just because I love this story you told and your perspective, it's just kind of stemming this story. If I get dispatched to 85-year-old lady, I show up, and her sole purpose for calling 911 is for me to change her bed sheets. Do I have the legal obligation, duty to act to change her bed sheets?
No, but you're going to do it anyway if you want to get into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And my second one, a little more serious.
Deal.
What is your lawyer perspective on our patient care report system currently allows AI-generated narratives? And I know a lot of providers are using AI generation, whether it's, they put it in a chat GPT or they use like ESO has a built-in AI generator. What are your thoughts on AI-generated patient care narratives?
All right, may I be blunt and frank? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
You haven't been yet?
I fucking hate them. Here's why. The purpose of the narrative is really twofold. Number one, to tell the story. And that's great. ChatGPT can tell the story from its end. It's really good at it. But the second is to be able to refresh your recollection 8 months later. And when you physically write that narrative, your fingers, your eyes, your brain, it's coming up the arm, that information is getting embedded in your memory. So when you read that narrative that you crafted 8 months or a year or 3 years later, it will refresh your recollection. If you're just checking boxes, right, you're not there's zero memorable input, and AI is generating the narrative. It's going to be of no value to you, and that's going to be the problem because it's not perfect. Now, there is a middle ground. If you are going to employ AI to generate your narratives, knowing that I hate them, okay, but go in, review it, edit it, make sure that it says what you want it to say and what it means, what you want it to mean, and add some stuff in there for yourself, little Easter eggs for yourself, so that it'll help you remember that call, that chest pain from the 1,000 others you've run since. That's my take on AI. It's coming and it's going to be used, but we still have to be smart about it.
Heck yeah, I love it.
Hey, yeah. Sean, while you're up, I sent you a message, but I'll just tell you while you're here. Will you go ahead and kind of articulate the talk on body cams?
Body cams.
Yeah, there's lots of questions in here on your perspective on body cams for EMS providers.
General statement, it doesn't matter whether we like them or not, they're coming. Body cams are coming to EMS, and I think my current prediction is within about 7 years, just about every mainstream agency will have them. I love the idea. I love the idea of body cams. Number one, because I'm never going to have to wear one, so it's not going to bother me. But I love the idea because, number one, body cams, just like they were supposed to do for law enforcement, kind of make people act right. When they know for sure that it's being recorded, they're not going to say the things we all used to say or do the things we all used to do. They're going to act right. That's number one. Number two is the camera never lies. The camera always tells the truth. So when you've got a he said, she said, and this person's saying you did something, you're saying you did another, Johnny, let's go to the videotape because that will always bear out the truth. In my practice, just about every criminal case that I work always has body cam, and that tells me which way to take the defense, which way to take the case. So from that aspect, I love it. From a HIPAA aspect, there are absolutely huge problems that need to be worked out in advance, okay? The body cams need to be air-gapped. They cannot be linked to the internet in any way so that they cannot be hacked. The data from the body cam needs to be attached to the run report as would anything else related to the patient care record, and that body cam footage has to be maintained as a patient care record that's fully HIPAA protected. That's my bigger concern with that.
So we had a user question saying, do we have a liability to turn them off if asked by the patient?
Well, the short answer is it depends on what your protocol is. The longer answer is I don't know. Every jurisdiction is going to be different. Law enforcement does not have a duty to turn them off if they're asked by a patient or by individuals, but patient-provider relationship is different, and I would revert to whatever your policy says.
Sean, do you have any more questions?
No, man. I'm done taking up your time. Enjoy the sun.
Oh, you know it. Come on out and enjoy it here with me.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's do it.
You got it.
Thanks, brother.
Right, see you, Sean. Good to talk to you.
All right, man. I appreciate you for answering all these questions. I mean, these people really are coming at me with a bunch of fire, and I love it.
Dude, if there's more, I got legit. If you're not in a hurry, I'm not. If there's more questions we can answer, I'm happy to do it.
Oh no, this is going to go on YouTube in its full entirety, and I may upload about 14 different parts, like a part a day. So when I get to that 15th part, that's when I'm like, hey, if you want to see the rest of it, go to YouTube, watch the whole episode.
Okay.
Other than that, Andy asked, a patient can legally sue if it's leaked, correct?
If what's leaked?
The body camera.
The patient care report?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just the same way as if your hospital record gets leaked. Absolutely.
Just wait until we go unconscious. Can we record them with implied? So this
that guy, who's that? They're paying attention. Mental health medic's paying attention. Good call. Yeah.
So what's your answer to that question?
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't turn it off because it's protected. It's not going anywhere. I would not want to turn it off. But again, it's whatever your protocol says you're required to do in that situation.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
obviously,
if the situation changes, like mental health medic said, if they go unconscious, boop, I'm turning that back on because I don't want there to be any doubt what I did next.
So, that's a good question. So what's the difference between a police officer and a paramedic on the same scene and the cop recording something versus a paramedic recording something?
Such a good question. The difference is the police officer is not bound by HIPAA. The provider is. The police officer's body cam is a completely separate animal. And there is no right to privacy with relation to the police officer's body cam.
So, okay, let me breach on that. If I know he's recording and I'm providing care to that patient, I can request that officer, hey, I need you to go somewhere else because your body cam's recording, and that's against HIPAA. Can I request that and have patient advocacy for that reason?
100%. America, you can say whatever you want, but if the officer has an interest in the call, they might tell you to go fuck yourself. They'll probably be a little less nice about it than that. But yeah, so in fact, that would be my recommendation. Yeah, we're about to talk about some sensitive stuff. Can you step out?
Yeah.
And then it's a pissing match between you and the police officer. Okay. But no, they're not. By the way, in fact, hang on. Let me rethink that.
Go ahead. I mean, on this topic, in my personal opinion, I love the fact that we're here for a reason. We're here to take care of the patient, and obviously we and other uniformed members work closely together, and I get that. But if they can't put their pride aside so I can take care of my patient, that is on them, not me.
Yeah, so I'm going to change my answer because now that I've had a chance to process it, no, you can absolutely direct them to leave unless the patient is in custody. And if they're in custody, if they're in their custody, and then you can do about that. But if they're just conducting it, so say for example, it's a traffic collision, and the patient is in the back of the ambulance suspected of DUI. Okay, you are conducting your assessment, and you are absolutely entitled to close the doors and keep everybody out because it's still a patient care assessment.
Yeah.
If the officer says, has he been drinking or is he deuce or anything related to the patient whatsoever, your response is, I'm not allowed to talk about that. I can't talk. It's protected information. I can't talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You absolutely have the right to do that. Okay, now that I think about it. Now, what their response is to that, that's a whole different thing. But I would, because if it was a bystander, you would do the same thing. If it was a stranger, you would do the same thing. So that would be my response is you can exclude them unless the patient's in custody.
Okay, so we had one on topic and one slightly off topic. I'm going to ask the one came later first. Does the conversation change with private versus municipality or government EMS?
No.
Okay.
EMS providers, regardless of who they, what patch they wear, ideally are held to the same standards.
Okay. And then can EMS override parental refusal due to medical necessity of a minor?
Damn, these are good questions. Generally speaking, if a parent refusing for a child would constitute neglect or abuse, then the provider can assume what's called in loco parentis rights and override the parents. And this comes up not infrequently. This comes up with religious exceptions, right?
Well, does that also mean, to further that, if I have to shut those doors and drive off while invoking that, does that count as kidnapping?
No. Kidnapping in EMS is pretty much a myth. I am not aware of any. It's been alleged countless times. I'm not aware of any case where it actually was upheld.
Okay.
As long as you're acting in good faith, which this would be a good faith situation.
Okay, so parenta in locos. Go ahead and continue on that.
Yeah, in loco parentis, yeah. Oh, you want me to talk more about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's just a legal principle that says that you step into the shoes or assume the rights of the parents. For example, let's say it's a pediatric patient and there are no parents around. Well, now you have those rights to make those decisions for the patient.
Okay.
If the parent's decision constitutes neglect or abuse, you can step in. Now, That's not to say you're not going to have to deal with trouble later or lawsuits later or stuff later. But this is absolutely one of those. It's much easier to get forgiveness than permission situations. And if it was me, I would do it.
So this is a really good question. I'm going to assume that he means like they have the same amount of custody. Okay, yeah. So if divorced parents disagree on care, who has legal authority, assuming they have 50-50 custody?
I don't know, and that question is way too complicated, so I can simplify it. The parent who says go to the hospital, that's the one I'm siding with.
Okay, 100%. I would agree with that. I'm going to add a little bit of chase, just a mystery. Oh,
this is not my dog. This is my mother-in-law's dog.
That's a good-looking dog.
It's an ugly, terrible dog.
I was trying to be nice, David.
Okay,
so the kid is in the back of the ambulance. Mom and dad kind of step out, or I coax them to get out, right? And it's just me and the kid. I'm going to invoke local. I don't know the freaking term. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I got you.
I close the doors and I start taking off, right? They call 911. They say, he just kidnapped my kid in the back of an ambulance. They send cops. Cops are behind me trying to pull the ambulance over. Do I pull over or do I continue to the hospital?
You need to quit drinking on the job is what you need to do. Wow. That's like a Hollywood scenario. I don't know. There's this. First of all, no. If you're going to the hospital because the kid needs to go, light it up and go code 3 to the hospital. But in reality, I mean, the amount of things that would have to happen in a row for that situation, it's so unlikely. You're probably more likely to get struck by lightning.
Yeah,
and I don't want anybody watching this to start overthinking. It's very simple. Err on the side of the patient. End of story.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Rosa said it. She says, I would just call dispatch or 911 and inform them of the situation of what's going on. So that way when they get that call, they know how to act. So, makes sense. I don't think that you watched Code 3 yet.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Okay, so we had a question asking them, what'd you think of the movie Code 3? And I was curious of that myself. So, are you planning on having a movie night?
And then I'll do it. I'll watch it and then I'll do a TikTok about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So that means you got to follow me on TikTok.
Oh yeah, guys, make sure you're following David Givot on TikTok. Make sure if you're down here on his name,
Sirens, Lights, and Lawyers,
right here. You see that right there, and it has a plus mark next to it. You're not following him, so press the plus mark, follow David, and you're going to get all kinds of information that you didn't think you needed.
We have cool stuff coming. Yeah, we have some really cool videos coming.
And just to plug Sean, because he's the reason why I'm talking with you today. You really need to go see EMS Connect on Shift and listen to that podcast.
If you haven't yet discovered EMS Connect, you're missing out. And I'm not getting paid to say that. Yeah. I've got no relation. I'm just telling you, you're missing out.
I mean, on the podcast side itself, the EMS Connect on Shift is a separate site from EMS Connect. What do you call it? The
platform.
Yes, absolutely. So, Sean, keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. We love you guys. And on that note, I would say, what should I never say to an investigator or a QA reviewer?
I don't know. Never lie to them.
Never lie.
Never ever lie to them. Never lie to them. Always tell the truth. And if you're not sure about how to proceed, consult a lawyer in your area. There aren't very many that I'm aware of paramedics turned lawyers. There's a firm in New Jersey, Strager, and I think it's McKeevy or something. I met Matt. I think it's Matt Strager at a conference out here one time. That guy is super smart. And if you're back there, I would call them. Page, PWW is always a great resource if you want to find somebody in your area that can help guide you in that kind of situation. You can always call me, but I can't practice outside of California. But if you're not sure of how to proceed, always contact a lawyer first.
Better call David, right?
Yep. All right. But never, ever, ever, ever lie. Don't ever lie. The lie is always worse than the cover up is always worse than the crime.
Yeah. Well, David, I think we had an action-packed episode. I've got about an hour and 30 in. I want to talk to you more off shift or off the podcast itself, because you're a hell of a guy to talk to.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot.
I'm going to do my ending thing real quick, and that way I can kind of let my family move around the house and into the bedroom and whatnot.
Got you.
It's because they're asking, hey, I need to come in here. So let me get to a point where I can pause it. We're going to stay on and just have, BS with the guys around here. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and put it into this. Guys, my name is Isaac Poteet. This has been Tales from the Tailboard Podcast. My guest today has been David Givot, a lawyer in defense of EMS. If you have not read his book, go find it anywhere online. Just search Sirens, Lights, and Lawyers and go buy yourself the book. David makes very minimal money off of this book as it is. But this is one of these books that should be in your hand as a textbook for when you're going to EMS class, whether it be basic, advanced, or paramedic and beyond. So with that being said, David, I really appreciate you for being on. If you haven't checked out End of Shift Apparel, go to endofshiftapparel.com. Go check out. We have some really cool stuff over there. Remind me, and I need to send you a care package of my shirt for the podcast. And
outstanding, thank you.
Yeah, and that way you have our shirt and stuff, and I'll get with Tim on sending that to you. Is there anything you'd like to say in the ending of here?
Yeah, listen, be safe. Remember that whether you're an EMT or a paramedic, firefighter, private, third service, doesn't matter. You have the best job in the world, and you are the most important part of society because you're the thing that keeps it all together and safe. Be safe out there, and remember to fucking have fun. This is the best job. I got a good job, right? I love my job. Your job is better, so be sure to have fun.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this episode. You can find parts when it comes out in about a month when I drop parts on TikTok day after day. You can find the whole episode on YouTube after a certain amount of days. And on that note, the world is dangerous. Be safe. And if you're not, I'll see you soon.
Dispatch, medic 1, show medic 1 en route.